Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Secretary Slater and Mr. Quinn, for joining us this afternoon. I do appreciate the briefing. I appreciate the photos and the graphics of the updates for things that have been done over the last 6 months or so, since at least the T&E committee and now the full council have received an update. And I look forward to being the first in line to ride the Purple Line when it opens. But with that said, when the Transportation and Environment Committee had a hearing back in March of 2019, I asked about the status of this project and was told that the Purple Line Transit partners and the state were far apart on a settlement for cost overruns. In fact, I was actually told that the cost overruns were, quote, far less than what was being reported in the media, and that was $300 million last year. I asked the same question at a subsequent hearing that the committee had in September of 2019, which didn't generate a detailed response either. So here we are now in May of 2020, and I'll ask the question that I've asked twice before, but have not received a sufficient response to. Is this project on budget?
Let me let Kevin answer that one in terms of, I think we have to figure out where the claims are and those types of things. I think there are a variety of levels to that. And so one budget is kind of at the end, but you have right in the middle of a project, you compare where you are in terms of percentages of progress and where your budget is expended and those types of things. So let me ask kind of Kevin where to answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, so sitting here today, yes, I'd say it largely is. I think it's these claims that are outside, and that's what's got to be resolved, and that's what we're in the process of negotiating right now. I'm happy to get you more information on exactly how much has been billed and all of that, but as of right now, yeah, we're on track.
Okay, so you're saying we're on track, but the media reports that came out about 3 weeks ago said that we are approximately $519 million over budget. How do you square those two thoughts?
So that's the total of claims that have been submitted by PLTP, and that's what's certainly in dispute, and that's what we're in negotiations for right now.
Well, so the Purple Line Transit partners, have they been able to identify the root causes of any of these cost overruns? Is it regulatory hurdles? Is it construction cost, increased labor cost, a combination thereof?
Well, I think what the secretary noted at the beginning, the vacation of the rod at the beginning of this project caused an 11-month delay in the project, and so I think there are some delay days and delay costs that are associated with that, and that's a big subject of our ongoing negotiations, is sort of the merits and the value of that.
Okay, well, Mr. Quinn, for you and for everybody else who's paying attention, Montgomery County has contributed approximately $225 million to the state to help build the Purple Line, $110 million to help build the south entrance to the Bethesda Metro, $53 million in direct contribution for the construction, $2 million to help build a hiker-biker trail in Silver Spring connecting downtown with Sligo Creek, and then approximately $61 million to help with the Capitol Crescent Trail, excluding the tunnel, which the county is now appropriated a little more than $50 million towards in our capital fund. And so I share these details because Montgomery County taxpayers deserve to know how our funds are being used. And for the state to, what I think is withhold this information does a disservice. And it was only through my questions back in September of last year did we learn that the system was not going to open in a continuous track, that it was through my probing that we learned it was going to be opening in 2 segments, with the Prince George's segment opening first. And so more broadly, this project was created as a public-private partnership. Unfortunately, I think the public is being left in the dark. And what this partnership needs is oversight and accountability. And I think these conversations are really the only ones that are happening regarding this project. And when I keep asking questions, they're not being answered. and we only get glimmers of information through the media, which are somewhat being countered now. So I'm at a loss to what to tell my constituents, an overwhelming majority of whom support the project, as do I, and we're excited about it. But they too are dismayed about the information they're hearing and the lack of transparency regarding the costs. And so at the end of the day, we need more accountability and oversight over this. And this being the third conversation I've had as a council member, still not finding any of the answers adequate. So how do we get through this? When are we going to start having an open conversation about the hundreds of millions of dollars that taxpayers in Montgomery County and Maryland might be on the hook for?
So, Mr. Councilmember, let me, maybe I can follow up. I want to make sure I'm clear on exactly what information you're looking for that you're not getting. One of the things that Kevin and I are really focused on is in these ongoing settlement discussions, you have agreements and you have disagreements, but it's really important that you keep some level of confidentiality in those discussions so people can talk freely, and we do that way. When it comes to the rod and right of way, we have a much clearer picture. You know, there's certainly some details that we can share about that if you're interested. I think a lot of that was kind of well shared in terms of the amount of delay in the lawsuit that caused that. Frankly, that was nobody's fault. You know, that's not, and so we work through those issues. When it comes to the CSX and the MDE claims that we're working through, there's a variety of information under the partnership, under the P3 agreement, that PLTP is required to submit to us, and it's detailed so that we can analyze any potential claim, and we can look through it and make sure and look at its merits and look at it from a variety of different perspectives. But maybe I'll ask Kevin to kind of share a little bit about where we are in those two claim processes, but to make sure, I don't know if we actually have all the information that you're looking for at this point, but I'd be happy to follow up if there's a detailed list.
Yeah, I think, you know, the key to us being able to be transparent, and we can certainly be more transparent, is having all the information at hand. And so, you know, as the Secretary noted earlier, I think we shared in your surprise at, you know, hearing in the Washington Post of the termination being filed for extended delay. That's not something that the state knew was going to happen ahead of time. We had been engaged in what we thought was productive negotiations up until that point. These two additional claims that have been submitted for both CSX and MDE related issues, you know, the concessionaire has filed neither time impact analyses nor detailed cost estimates for both of those claims. And so that makes it tough for us to do a solid analysis on that and then to convey that to you. But, you know, as it relates to transparency, you know, I think this is a good discussion, and I think the Secretary and I are certainly committed to more of these types of discussions to increase transparency.
Thank you.
Well,
Councilmember.
Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement that more transparency is needed. And Secretary Slater, I accept your offer to continue this conversation. So
Sure. Thank you very much.